Hello everybody, I'm Jeanette and you're visiting the Neal's Homestead. It's summer now and it's okra growing time. If you planted okra in the spring, you should be getting a lot of okra over this time of year because it likes the heat and it likes the sun and it likes this time of year. Now we have had a very unusual growing year and my okra hasn't done as good as usual. In previous years I have grown rows and rows of okra and picked it to take it to the market and sell. But this year I only have like 20 or 25 plants, or maybe 30, so I don't have as much okra to pick. Now when you're picking your okra, you need to try to do it about every other day so that you can get the right size of okra. If you leave it on there too long, it will grow too big and start getting tough. It gets what we might call woody. If you want to pickle it, then you need to pick it smaller because smaller okra makes better pickling okra. Typically you want to choose a pod that's about the length of your finger. Now I realize that people have different length fingers, so you can decide for yourself at what length you want to do it, but for me that's a pretty good gauge to pick okra at the length of my finger. Today I'm going to show you my favorite way to cook okra. There are several different ways that people cook okra. It's commonly battered and deep fried. You can pickle it. You can make gumbo. You can just add it to a soup. It kind of acts as a little thickener in your soup. But I came up with a different way to cook okra that I really like. It doesn't involve any high carbohydrate batters. It doesn't involve a lot of grease. It's quick, easy, and it's my favorite way. So I'm going to show you how to do it. Now I told you to pick it at the size of your finger, but you can see I let some of mine get too big. Now the way you can tell if your okra is too old and tough is to take the tip and just snap it like that. If it snaps and breaks easily, then it's still good. The only time it's not good is if it's too hard, and you can tell that when you start cutting it because it won't cut through easily. I also have some here that are small, and these are really a good size to pickle. But today I'm going to cook them all my favorite way. The first thing you'll need to do is cut it up. Now you can choose whether you want to leave the little tip in there or not. I do often leave it in there. Today I'm not going to, I guess, for my little demonstration. You just want to cut your okra into half or inch pieces or so, maybe up to 3/4. Take the stem end away. Sometimes I line up the okra like this. I don't like taking a long time to do something, so I'll line it up like that. Make sure it's all lined up and cut several at a time. And then when you get down to the end, you have to do a little more. I'll get this cut up. I have my okra cut up. Now let's get the pan ready. As always, I use a little bit of oil in my cast iron skillet. Every single day of my life I use my cast iron skillet. Turn the burner on high. This is going to be similar to the way I did my shishitos and I did my immature spaghetti squash. So I'm going to let my skillet get really hot. And it'll start smoking here in a little bit. When the skillet's hot enough that it starts smoking, you know that it's hot enough. Now intense heat is important in this cooking process. So I'm going to dump my okra in there. Now I want my skillet to stay hot. As you probably know, okra has a slimy texture to it. And what you want to do is not let that slimy texture come out of the okra. The hot skillet is going to sear the okra and make it have more of a dry texture instead of a slimy texture. Now as it starts to heat up more on the pan and your okra starts getting hot, you need to start tossing it. When the moisture comes out of the okra, it's called sweating. And you don't want to let your okra sweat. You want to keep everything dry in there. You can let it sit for a few seconds at a time, but don't let it sit there too long because on high heat this stuff will burn pretty quickly. Now as you look down in your pan, you might notice that some pieces didn't flip over, so occasionally you'll have to find a piece that still looks raw on one side and go ahead and flip it over. If you've got a smoke alarm at this point, it might go off. I have an electric stove, so I'm going to go ahead and kick the heat off because the skillet and the burner will retain heat, but I'll continue stirring. As the okra is starting to get brown and maybe starting to shrivel up a little bit, you can use your judgment to decide when it's done. You can certainly overcook it, but I think for the most part, what would happen when you overcook it is it's going to dry it out too much and it won't be tender anymore. It won't have the right kind of texture for you. When you feel like it's browned enough all the way around, just put it on a plate. It's not greasy. You've just only used a small amount of grease in your pan. It's nice and dry. I have some red salt here that I'm just going to sprinkle around the top. And I'll enjoy that great dish. Thanks for joining me. Try making okra like this. I think you'll like it.